Since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has actively promoted propaganda on national television and invented new myths about Ukraine to justify the Russian occupation, the rocket attacks, and the destruction of the Ukrainian civilian population. And many Russians really hated the Ukrainians.
All these Ukrainians must be destroyed, killed and cut.
Propagandists claimed that there were dangerous biological laboratories in Ukraine sponsored by the West, and the Kyiv allegedly intended to use the so-called dirty bomb against Russia.
They tried to promote the thesis about biolaboratories, where the virus was being prepared for attacks on the territory of the Russian Federation as much as possible. They had a period of several weeks when the topic was always on the TV screens. The idea with this dirty bomb has also been reborn. I think this was due to the fact that they controlled the Chernobyl NPP. Now they still control the Zaporizhia NPP. They needed such a topic so that in the event of a catastrophe that could happen through their fault, and the risk of it still remains, they would blame it all on Ukraine.
But the more defeats Russia suffers on the battlefield, the more sophisticated it justifies its own lies. Unable to recognize the advantage of the Ukrainian army, propagandists began to declare that tens of thousands of foreign mercenaries, NATO warriors, were fighting for Ukraine. No one expected such a big war, a world war. No one proceeded from the fact that all 50 countries would help Ukraine so much. Actually, we have a small army. It is not prepared for such grandiose wars. Russian propaganda played against Russia itself. Most citizens believed that the world was afraid of them and Kyiv could be taken in 3 days. But in reality, the Russian army is forced to flee and surrender the previously occupied territories.
For at least 15 years they were shown what a great army they had, having those parades on the Red Square with a tank which stalled on its way, when in reality everything was quite different. The population turned out to be in a cognitive dissonance, and the propagandists found themselves in an ideological vacuum, because they had not received new manuals on how to explain all this situation. New manuals come too late, and the arguments that are now being given to the population are rather weak arguments.
The total censorship of the Kremlin in the information space has increased even more with the beginning of the war. Alternative channels of information where people could find out the truth about the events happening in Ukraine and the world have been practically destroyed in Russia.
Simply due to Putin's stupidity and misunderstanding of how the internet works, a lot of free and critical information is still available on YouTube. And thanks to this, people who are able to think at least a little critically and understand that an alternative source of information is needed for a full picture, they use it. And they see a different picture of the world. There are more than 20 million such people in absolute numbers, according to all surveys. Basically, it's young people who do not like this war at all and who condemn everything that Putin does.
Russian propaganda not only misleads the citizens of Russia, it also changes the structure of society. Society is divided into people who are for this war and who are against it, which leads to the disintegration of social ties and conflicts. This works especially well on social media, experts say. Reported by Dana Kolesnik, Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.